Unless you're already a millionaire, multimillionaire, I don't think absentee ownership exists. I don't think you'll have the right attitude if you go into this saying, hey, I just want to throw money at something as an investment. You're going to have to put in blood, sweat, and lots of tears.
Representing Franchise Secrets, Erik Von Horn.
Welcome to the show, boys. How's it going?
It's going good.
Going great, Erik. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. This is going to be kind of a fun one. It is going to be a fun one because I knew Luke before he was a franchisee, and Luke and Terry met as franchisees, and then you guys partnered together, and then all of us partnered together and making some magic happen. So I just kind of want to walk through that because a lot of franchisees want to do more and build something bigger, and they don't know how to do it. And sometimes the answer is right in front of them with other franchisees. I also want to hit on the myths about semi-absentee franchising or fully absentee franchising. I think I found the trick to absentee franchising, and it's probably not what anybody thinks. So, Luke, why don't we start with you? Background, just like the 30-second background and how we met and what you've been up to.
Yeah, so I got a background in engineering. I made my way up through the engineering world, working in very industrial applications, automated machinery and equipment. Had always tried to be entrepreneurial on the side, and never really jumped in with both feet. It was always half-hearted. And after listening to you on a podcast with John Lee Dumas, I said, you know what? Franchising might be an answer. And at the time, Erik, you were a franchise consultant. So I reached out and we started talking. And 3 months later, I jumped in and said, all right, franchising for me. Let's give it a try.
You were one of the first franchisees in StretchLab. Denver's a hot market, and people that are in that Denver market, or in some markets like Raleigh or Nashville, franchises get taken pretty quickly. So most of the time, you either have to buy an existing franchisee out or find a brand that doesn't have hardly any franchisees, and that's what you did. Is you found StretchLab, and it turned out to be a big winner for you, and probably not the way that you envisioned it to play out. All right, we'll get back to you, Luke. Terry, tell us a little bit about your background.
All right, yeah, thank you. So my background, I started off in selling cell phones for the most part. Was in that industry for 20 plus years. Did all kind of management, marketing, all that kind of good stuff. Got into franchising through another franchise consultant. This is kind of the right place, right time. I actually met Luke during our discovery day. I guess that was 2018. I ended up getting 3 in Texas. And then I actually met, I guess, Erik during COVID, although he didn't know it at that time. That's when I really started listening to his podcast. Luke got me onto him. And, later on, I think it was probably 6 months or a year later, I finally actually met Erik in person.
So that's when, Luke started telling me a bit more about you, Terry, and there's a few franchisees at Stretch that are, doing very well. And so, fast forward a number of years, I was at a point where I wanted to deploy some capital, put some money to use, and I did not want to be an operator. One of the things that I've learned over the years, as a consultant, as a franchisee, as a franchisor, sometimes most of the time, the best franchisees are pretty active in their business, and they're not semi-absentee or absentee. Like they've got somebody that is active in the business. And then when I think about getting involved with a brand or a franchise partnership, I want someone that is active in the business and then has experience in the brand and has experience as a franchisee and has experience as being a business partner. And I think that's something that's often overlooked. So why don't we back up to where you two came together as business partners? And I was on the sidelines kind of watching that. I'm always interested. I wonder if this might be something that I could get involved with. So talk about how you guys as franchisees came together and formed a partnership.
So we kept in touch throughout the years as we were developing our first units that we had. And then, Luke was pretty quick on getting his open. I opened my 3 over a couple of years and finally finished it out right after COVID. And some opportunities came up near Luke in Colorado Springs. And we're like, hey, well, what should we do? And Luke's like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm out or I'm in. I don't know. It's like, well, should we open up 3 more in Colorado Springs since it's near you? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And that kind of started our partnership. And then, over time, I'll kind of let Luke talk a minute, but over time, we kind of developed some roles that worked really well for both of us, kind of went into our strengths as well.
Talk about that, Luke. Talk about that, now you're partners. Did you guys roll all of your territories and your existing franchise locations into the partnership? Did you keep those separate and then get into a new partnership? How did that work?
Yeah. So maybe I'll back up just a little bit. So Terry skipped over it, but I kept my full-time job when I opened up the first StretchLab. And I was really of the mentality that, hey, I was sold this as a semi-absentee franchise. I can dedicate 10 hours a week to running this business and hiring the key people and keep my full-time job. Once it's successful enough, I'll organically grow, open up some more studios. After having gone through 6 managers in the first 8 months, it definitely opened up my eyes, and it was like, this is way harder than I was expecting. It was taking 20 hours a week, and Terry was my lifeline. Like, hey, Terry, how are you doing this? I don't understand how the manager can do this. We're not generating enough sales. Our leads are really low. I got people quitting all the time. So Terry was extremely generous with his time and kind of coaching me through a lot of different sales opportunities and lead funnel flows. And really after COVID, as Terry mentioned, I reached out, and I was at a breaking point where it was either I need to buy more studios or I need to be out. One just doesn't have the economies of scale you need, or I needed. And, the labor pool's short. You can't pull from other studios. There's no backup plan. If someone quits, it's just instant pain. Yeah, Terry offered, and he and I talked, like you said, a little bit about our roles and responsibilities. And with my technical background, one thing I was particularly good at was reading all the contracts, understanding how to deal with general contractors, attorneys, different conditions, and finding a way to get a studio open really quick at a pretty reasonable price point.
Attention, franchisors and franchisees. There are 2 really important resources that I want to share with you that will help you avoid costly mistakes and increase your enterprise value. The first is our free Facebook group. It's a community that has over 4,000 franchisees and franchisors in it. When somebody asks a question, they get honest and authentic answers from multiple perspectives. You can join the group for free over at franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. The second resource I want to share with you is if you're a franchisee and you want to be around a community of successful Z's and other brands and in other industries, this is why I created the Franchisee Mastermind. If you want access to the best single and multi-unit owners to know what they're doing, or if you want to be around other multi-brand owners, then you'll want to check out my Franchisee Mastermind. The reason why people join is they want access to my Rolodex, my connections, to each other. They want a shortcut success, both short-term and long-term. Links will be in the show notes or at scalablefranchise.com. So now you guys have a partnership. Well, let's stop on that. I think there's something to be said about getting studios or getting locations open quick. And, sometimes business owners, franchisors are just slow. Everything's slow in the process. And I think speed is maybe an overlooked strength when it comes to, being a franchisee, being a business owner. Some of the more successful entrepreneurs understand speed and doing things with excellence, having great sales and operations and marketing, all of that. But how do you do that, and how do you do it fast? So you mentioned the word speed. We've never even had this conversation before. What is it about speed that is important to you, both of you?
When I look at speed, what I like to consider is that we've already made a certain cash outlay for the franchise fee. That's money that is a sunk cost, but we're expecting a return on that investment. The longer it takes to get open, the more opportunities there are for costs to go up, to incur additional rent, just negotiating with attorneys. You're several $100s an hour. If you're not quick and don't respond and are being more passive in that negotiation, everything just continues to add up, and you're not generating any revenue. And so the sooner you can get open, the faster you are generating revenue and getting that return on your investment.
Terry, any comments on that?
Yeah, I think for our partnership, I'm more of like the sales. I'll develop the team. I'll do all the hiring, the marketing, all that kind of good stuff. So for me, the speed works out nicely because it gives me my trigger points to get started on, the hiring, the marketing. And once that's all planned out, we can move pretty fast with pre-sale, moving into soft open, where we can start, kind of getting that recurring revenue hitting as quick as possible, basically.
Yeah, we had an instance where, we thought we were going to open a location. And so we went ahead and started trying to hire people. And nobody wants to wait around for 2, 3, 4, or 5 months to get started. So if you can't hit those deadlines, you start to lose the good people. You lose all the energy and time invested in developing them and getting ready for pre-sale. And so the people side even starts to take a hit.
Let's talk about our partnership. So give us a sense of what you guys own outside of our partnership. And then I want to talk about our partnership and, what's expected of me in that partnership and, being that absentee owner. So what do you guys own outside of that partnership? Maybe it's together or within, your partnership.
Yeah, I think collectively in our partnership, we have 7 StretchLabs. So we have 3 in Texas and then 4 in Colorado.
All right. And then, so for us in our partnership, is it fair to say we have a dozen plus that we are planning to open up in a fairly quick time frame?
Yeah, we have 3 in Minnesota, and then I was gonna say 3 in Minnesota, and then I believe it's 7 in Maryland, and a couple in Texas.
So that's what we have on our plate to open up. Where are we in the process? Like, you guys have that 7. Where are we in our partnership in the process? We got territories, but we don't have anything open yet, but we are somewhere in between.
Between the 4 of us, as Terry mentioned, we got territories kind of East Coast, up north, and down in Texas. To date, our partnership, we started about 1.5 years ago, I think, is when we all kind of came to terms and said, here's what we're going to do. Here's the ownership structure. Here's our operating agreements. And after that, we had already picked out the locations for the territories. And so it has taken us probably just over a year to sign 4 leases. So we have 4 leases signed, 1 currently in LOI stage. And we plan to open up all 5 of those studios this year. And then towards the end of the year, or kind of midway through the year, we'll start looking for some additional locations so we can open up 2 or 3 more studios next year.
So think about me, my role in that partnership. We have a standing call once a week for 30 minutes. Sometimes I'm on there, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes, you need me in there. Sometimes you just don't. What do you see as me being involved in that partnership? Do you see me as a kind of a semi-absentee owner, fully absentee, just money? Like, how do you view that? And again, like, we talked about it before we hit record, like, just say it like it is. Tell me, share with the audience what you guys are really thinking. So how do you guys view that? Because I think it'll help the audience understand my roles in things and whatnot. And then I'll make some comments too. I don't want to lead with anything though. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go because I'm itching. Because the main thing for you is to look pretty every day when you show up on the calls. For sure. It gives us a lot of support. But I would think you're more of a consultant to us that we run things by, and with your expertise, and it's more of a almost fully out of the business with giving us guidance kind of.
Luke, is he lying?
Yeah.
Or is that pretty accurate?
Well, so with the four of us, you and Scott are really more on the advisement side and much more hands-off. You're very interested and dedicated to the success of our business and partnership, but you're relying much more heavily on Terry and I to do startup, opening, day-to-day operations, and be the hands-on aspect of the partnership.
How's my micromanaging? Am I a micromanager?
You told me what shirt to wear today. You even asked me to pick out a certain color of socks. I said, you're not going to see my feet. Oh, it's awful. It's awful.
Yes. Are either of you guys micromanagers? Because I'm not a micromanager. Are any of you micromanagers, or have like, is that a strength or weakness for you guys? Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, no, I'm not a micromanager. There are certain tasks that I have to micromanage if it's waiting to go to the next level or it's a small time frame. But overall, with our leaders and everything, we're definitely not micromanagers.
For an engineer, I'm not a micromanager. So I had a boss once who said, you need three things in a job or career to be happy: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And the minute you start micromanaging, you take away someone's autonomy. So I've been very careful not to micromanage people.
Let's shift gears and talk about, you guys are very successful in your other studios, and I like you guys as humans, and you're good people, and you're successful in franchising and specifically at StretchLab. So, and I was impressed with your desire to learn, and you don't know everything, but also you guys are very good with, building out organizations and, keep an eye on the KPIs and your budgeting, kind of what you budget turns out to be pretty stinking accurate. So that doesn't happen without really good organizational skills and just building a great organization. So let's get into the nitty gritty a little bit of how do you guys think about building your organization, this organization as a partnership, and each of these studios. So kind of get into the nitty gritty, because I've seen the spreadsheets, I've seen the plans. It's more than what the franchisor even has for franchisees. So you've taken what they've given and you've made it even better, in my opinion, and that's what great franchisees do. So give us some insight into your leadership, organization, and building this thing.
For first, like the franchisor with Expo and StretchLab, they have a great support system. The owners all together do really well on sharing best practices and different things like that. So we really steal a lot of things from each other, which is great. And a lot of it's trial and error. As we built our first studio out, it went well. And then we took things for the second one, third one. And once we got over to the fifth one going open, everything has been documented that we do. And it's really just making sure, like for me personally, if I'm anxious or worried about something before we're starting off, this is months before, I do a lot of planning. I've run numbers all based on the formulas that we have and the kind of the models that we have as far as projections and all that kind of good stuff. And once it proves to work, we just make sure we keep doing it, basically.
So Terry is the mastermind behind aggressive organization. So, I think the analogy I try to tell everybody is I build the race car. I get the studios up and running, open, ready for operations, and Terry drives the race car. He comes in, we work together to put the systems in place, but he really is the mastermind and has the ideation and, adaptation of what he refers to aggressive organization in managing the people, managing the tasks, and making sure we are a high performing and high functioning team.
So Terry, give us some war stories of, someone that's wanting to have a great studio manager, location manager, or area manager. What are some of the things that you've learned over the years? And then Luke, piggyback off of Terry.
I think one thing that we spent a lot of time in right from the beginning is a couple years ago, we came up with our own employee mission / core values, and it's like in 4 pillars. But we really crammed that down everybody's throat, like right from the start, like even the first interview. And we spent a lot of time on new hires with development. For us, it's the people that stretch with flexologists or the GMs. So really, the first month we spend like extra time on as far as getting them up to date on processes, really the employee mission, how they can develop their people, and really start that culture up front. And that has to do with a lot of setting accountability metrics as well, kind of like what we're not going to do, what we are going to do. It's and if it's not the right fit for you, then it's not the right fit. So we spend a lot of time on culture. That's like our long play, I guess you can say. And then we do normal sales training and that kind of thing. And we have like right now, if we hire a new GM, we have our other managers do a lot of the training instead of just like really me doing it. Or we don't really have any area managers right now. We just have not found the right ones yet. So, but as far as like in studio, that's kind of like what we're really good at, is making sure people love coming to work, having fun. We set career goals with them right away. We're upfront about telling them like we want to keep you for 3 years. Like you're signing a 1-year agreement for like say if you're a flexologist, but we want to keep you for 3 years. So we find out more about them. Maybe they want to go to physical therapy school in 2 years. So all right, well let's build a plan. We're gonna teach you a lot of hands-on. We're gonna teach you some customer service skills, but you're gonna be like ready for action when you go to PT school. We might have somebody that wants to grow with us. So again, we're developing them into be possibly an assistant general manager to a general manager and up. Or we may have some people that just like to work part-time and love coming to work. So that's what we're aiming on. But we're really upfront that we want to keep people for 3 years. When we first opened studios, we had a 1-year agreement for flexologists. And when their 1 year is up, it's like a customer. They're like, hey, my 1 year's up. All right, I guess, I'm actually going to be looking for another job. And we're like, wait, what are you talking about? And then we started figuring out like we need to start telling people that we want them for 3 years, and there's career pathing, or we can set goals with them, or how we can help them.
Is that something that you kind of saw and just implemented, or did you hear were other franchisees helping you with that? Was a corporate office seeing that as a problem and helping with that?
Yeah, no, I mean I have a lot of experience with teams and keeping people, for a while, like within management. And that's something that I put in place. Just, I've read a couple books that actually some of them have been your podcast where I stole a lot of good stuff from. But, so that's something that we implemented as a team.
I love that. That's so franchisees. This is what good franchisees do. You're going to get stuff from your franchisor. Even the great franchisors, you're going to get stuff from them and get help. But the best franchisees are going to go out and just make stuff happen themselves. And so that's why it's important as a franchisee to be around other great franchisees and listen to them. Because StretchLab, just like any other franchise out there, I'm sure if you wanted to go find some complaining franchisees, you absolutely could. But I know that there's a lot of really good, high-performing franchisees, just like in Club Pilates, that are going above and beyond all the rest. And so that's why it was important to me to be around like you guys, like partner with you guys that have the attitude, we've got a good system, but we're going to be great franchisees in a solid system. And so I just wanted to kind of share that with other franchisees out there that are, probably have that same kind of mindset. Like you just go out there and do it yourself. Don't wait for your franchisor to do everything for you.
We're not a franchisee that does something totally different than what the franchise is asking. We actually stay pretty close. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but like on the people side, we try to go above and beyond to make sure we keep them. They'll take care of customers, which in turn will get us good results. But we're definitely not like trying to do things different. We grab everything we can from anybody in the community or from the franchisor.
That's how it is. That's how I've been, when I've been a part of great systems and with the great other franchisees. That's how everybody wins. You're not reinventing the system. Do you have things that you can make it better? Absolutely. That's how franchisors get better. But the best franchisees and the best franchisors do it collaboratively. How do you say that? Collaboratively. They collaborate on that stuff. All right. Yeah. That will probably not be cut out because that's who I am. All right, Luke.
When it comes to the people aspect, we've really found a way to align the purpose, the deeper purpose of our employees with our mission statement and what we provide. So I tell everybody we hire helpers. The people who are truly passionate about making our customers' lives better. It really is in the wellness space where we see results. We have customers come in week after week after week. And whether they're recovering from an injury or trying to increase their physical performance, or they're just old and have lost mobility, our team members absolutely love to interact and be the facilitator of that change in our clients. And once we find the people who that is their passion, it's not about, making as much money as they can. It's not about punching a time clock. It really is, am I helping Jeanette, lift up her grandkids tomorrow? And, our purpose and, the reason we do what we do is to help others.
I've been a part of a lot of different brands, and there are stories like that. Like, you named her Jeanette. I have people back in the tax business that I can name that lives were changed from as employees. I remember having people on that franchisees of Club Pilates, and they're like, Erik, I had no idea we would be having customers crying in front of us that we changed their lives. And so I think, it's easy to look at even me, like hearing that, I'm like, oh, wow, we are able to help people. Like that grandmother being able to pick up her grandchild, like that's a big deal. But you need to share that, with your employees, and they start to understand like that is a big deal. And there's more purpose behind what I do than just punching in the time clock. I'm sure you have more stories like that, but yeah, any more comments on just kind of making things personal and as it goes into employee retention?
Yeah, so one of the ways we do that is we've set up group chats. So each studio has a group chat and like a Slack thread, and then all of our managers across all the studios have that thread. And they use that every day. So at least once a week, we're seeing stories of, hey, this client came in, they wanted to cancel, they were having some troubles. We talked through, we worked out, here's the benefit. They love their flexologist. They love coming into the studio. Just sharing those stories of success and achievement amongst the group, and having it come from, each studio's own voice has been really powerful.
One thing extra for the managers that is really just starting now is because we have 4 managers in Colorado, 3 in Texas, and we have 1 in Minnesota. We will have in Maryland that we'll fly out maybe like once a month. We'll bring a Colorado manager here for Texas to visit the studios, kind of train or just get best practices. We have a manager from that Colorado that just had a successful pre-sale that is going to be flying up to help kind of mentor the new Minnesota manager. And that's like right now, that's one of their top things that they're really motivated by, to kind of help out other areas or other managers, or really just to get more information as far as best practices. So that's one thing that's been working really well right now. And then we're all in a group chat. So even though we're going to have 4 states, we do calls together. We do pretty much everything together. So it's definitely kind of helped align everybody.
All right, we're going to do a little rapid fire, something I just started. And so I'll just kind of give you a question, a sentence, or just some words. And I want to hear kind of just what comes to mind, the first, 10 to 30 seconds of what comes to mind. All right, we'll start with you, Luke, and then we'll go to Terry, and then we'll switch it up on the next one. Absentee ownership. Absentee ownership.
Can I just sit here and laugh at that term? Unless you're already a millionaire, multimillionaire, I don't think absentee ownership exists. I don't think you'll have the right attitude if you go into this saying, hey, I just want to throw money at something as an investment. You're going to have to put in blood, sweat, and lots of tears.
That sounds good. Terry, absentee ownership.
I don't know if I see that in my future. Maybe like 10 years from now or so. But I do talk a lot of franchisees about it, and it doesn't really exist. I mean, unless you just have an organization already. I know, like, maybe you had a business that was really successful, you sold it, and you have a team in place already to come in, jump in, and run it for you. Then I think that's probably an example of where it would work. But I think for most people, I don't think it's a thing.
Yeah, and I think also, I wouldn't even say within this partnership, there's different ways to structure it. Absentee ownership means you are completely hands off. I'd say if I'm available 1 hour a month, that would probably be considered absentee ownership, because even when you have investments, I do a lot of passive investing. I still monitor my investments, and that's absentee. But like within a partnership, how we set it up, I'm still on the hook for the leases and guarantees and bank loans and things like that. And so from a risk standpoint, I'm not fully absentee, or my downside is not protected, doesn't stop at my $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 investment. There's risk beyond that. And so there's just a lot to think about. I don't think a lot of people think about the risk associated with it. All right, another one for Terry and then Luke. Top franchisees. Top franchisees is the word.
Top franchisees? I think from my experience, they're the ones that are involved. They have a plan to build multiple studios where they can kind of get the benefits of having multiple studios and what comes with that, but is open-minded, but works hard, and I guess maybe works hard and smart, and gets very creative, like doesn't wait around for the franchisor to fix something, or the systems, or doesn't have the right reports to move on to kind of build what works for you while still keeping the integrity of the franchisor, I guess you could say. But willing to share best practices, and just really good with people.
Love it. Luke, top franchisee.
Yeah, I think top franchisees are similar to what Terry said. They're willing to be in the business and to work. I would also say the top franchisees are networkers. So they are communicating within prior networks, within the current franchisee network and other franchisees, and looking outside of their current network at other franchises and what they're doing, and trying to do some cross coordination and understand different options or different ways to solve their current challenges.
All right, last kind of rapid fire question or statement going to Luke. Franchisee-franchisor relationship.
So I took
Luke.
I took a long sigh. I think it has to be pretty good. But personally, I think I like to challenge a little bit of what they're doing. Personally, I see a lot of inefficiencies in how they're doing things. And so, we like to go back to them and gently highlight some of the opportunities they have, but also not be afraid to address a problem differently and in a non-traditional way. And I'll leave it nice and vague.
Terry, you're up. Franchisee-franchisor relationship.
All right, Luke did good. I'm proud of him. But so I'm on the different end. I've always had a really good relationship with StretchLab corporate, and I do a ton of things for them. I've been on the FAC council. I've done a lot of calls. I probably, if I would have got a commission, my first 2 or 3 years of franchisees signing up, it would probably be in 6 figures probably. But I like having that.
You did. You didn't.
Yeah,
but
if I did.
You did.
Yeah. I made other people a lot of money by just confirming some stuff. But no, I think it's really important, and it's just I like it because I don't really call them that much or anything. But when I need them, they're there for me quickly, and I just try to help out any way I can, because it always it just creates that healthy, especially healthy relationship as we're starting to grow more. I feel like it's really important for us to have a great relationship with them.
So my perspective is, it's important for me as an investor into our business here is for the franchisees, Luke and Terry, to have a good relationship with the franchisor. So if they were top performing franchisees in a brand that was doing well with other franchisees doing well, and they had a bad relationship with the franchisor, I would be out, because it's important to have a good working relationship with that franchisor. And it's okay to have, it's not always, this is in general. So we're not talking about Stretch here. We're talking about in general. There's going to be conflict in that franchisee-franchisor relationship. Just like there's conflict in business, in a business partnership, there's conflict in, marriages, there's conflict in all kinds of things. So there's going to be conflict with the franchisee-franchisor relationship. And that's why it's important to have, especially if that's what I love about business partnerships. You got Terry, who's like, really building that relationship with the franchisor. And you got Luke, that's probably, he's got that stinking engineer mindset that is just trying to fix everything, and nobody can do it as good as he can. So, but you guys, there's different personalities that people have and how they approach things. And I do know one thing, both of these guys are respected by the franchisor and the leadership there, and have a good relationship. And it doesn't mean there's never conflict. And so that was important to me as an investor into this business. All right. Anything else that you guys think would be interesting to talk about? Something that you do, something that about the partnership, or maybe it's just kind of, the way that you guys, see the next 5 years, and what are some of your goals? So any other topics that you want to talk about, or how do you want your involvement in the business to change as the business grows?
Before that, I do want to touch on, we were talking about aggressive organization kind of at a high level. And what's really helped, personally in each studio, what we've held the managers to is more on the operations side. And every business will be different, but I think we can probably agree that there are a lot of similarities. And that's just really kind of not letting anything go uncovered, like every rock uncovered kind of thing. Like whether it's, if you have canceled memberships, or you have lost customers, or if you, if you're trying to, like for us, we're trying to make sure people are booked or the invoices are correct. There's so much money lost that with invoices not correct, or people canceling and didn't know it. And then we track those pretty much every month, pretty much every week. And then if somebody does cancel, we're just not letting them cancel. We're tracking like why they canceled, who it was. So each month that manager has a responsibility to go back and coach those people, or figure out how to save that person. And we've got it down to where we can do about 5 different areas that it takes about 2 hours a week for a manager or for a studio to do. And since then, we've kind of implemented that. Really, we had some issues last year, and it probably cost us about $30,000 over 5 studios. So this year, like in those studios, our profitability is already up. I think it was I said you guys, it was some crazy number, but I mean, some of it's like, one of them is like 200%. Others are 50, 60, 70% over last year for profitability. So now that we're doing these small things consistently every week, even though they're paying, it's paid off really well. I mean, it's been great.
I love that. Luke, any last comments from you?
Yeah, I think just to touch on partnerships, one of the things I was extremely hesitant, and I've heard a lot of negativity around, is just partnerships and, understanding people's roles. And, a lot of people actually, I've heard recently recommend, don't do any partnerships. And, at least with Terry, and then bringing Erik and Scott into the fold, like I'm more and more satisfied and more, I think my doubts have been relegated in bringing in partners and having the partnership and just the different perspectives, and really leveraging the strength of the 4 of us and going forward. I mean, it was, it's been a great, I won't say surprise, but it's something I'm really happy that I'm involved with and a part of.
I think part of the reason we'll end with this is that we spent a lot of time talking about what it looks like, what if scenarios, and making sure everybody felt comfortable with their responsibility, compensation, everything. And so I think that's one of the keys to having a good partnership is people have been in partnerships before. They understand a bit about it and the conflict. And then you just talk about all the what ifs, and you have a really good operating agreement that everybody fully understands. So guys, thanks for coming on, man. It's been good having you. Good to see your face.
Thank you.
Outside of Monday.
Yeah.
Thanks, Erik. Appreciate everything you do. And yeah, we'll keep listening to your podcast and trying to scavenge more and more information as we grow and continue our relationship.
Thanks for listening to the Franchise Secrets podcast. Links to everything can be found over at franchisesecrets.com. And if you want my help with anything from starting your own franchise to growing your current franchise business, please visit scalablefranchise.com.